Hello, this is a tutorial on how to very quickly create a full skeletal muscle system for your character. I have earlier prepared a metahuman character that I created in Unreal Engine 5.7. And once I created the metahuman character, I also brought in animation from the Fab Marketplace and added that to my metahuman character. And then I went over to the assemble area after I created a full rig for her character and exported the DCC export as a zip file to my computer. Once I had that, I opened up Houdini 21, which you should open now, and added a SOP network to my network view. Once I had that, I double clicked and added a metahuman character assembler character rig node to import my metahuman character into Houdini 21. Then I go to my file to import the metahuman, and I pick the folder that the DNA has been saved to once I unzipped it, and accept that folder and also import the textures. And within a few seconds, I can view my character inside the viewport. Once I have that, I want to drop down and unpack character node from the Apex file, the Apex unpack character node, and connect that. I also want to open up my animation as an FBX file. So for that, I will go to the FBX animation import and drop down that node and go to where my FBX file is located. And select that FBX file. Now I need to drop down a skeleton blend node to connect the two together, the model and the animation. I don't use shortcuts for my tutorials because I want to go step by step through each part of my tutorial, so there's no misunderstanding as to how to create what we're going to create. So now let's connect the FBX import to the second node in Skeletal Blend and create and connect the fourth output from the impact character to the first connection. And now we want to drop down a joint to form node. Connect the skeleton blend to the last connection and the second output from the impact character to the first input of joint to form, the third output to the second input of joint to form. Now we want to go into Skeleton Blend and change the weight of the second weight uh, transform to 1, and that will import our animation correctly into Skeleton Blend. Now we can see it and preview the animation correctly. And in joint deform, if we set the corrections for our Skeleton Blend to, the FBX import should be sent to normalized joint scales. Now we can correctly see our character joined with the animation, and we can save our character out by dropping down a ROP FBX geometry, ROP geometry output. And here we can save our character to the name that we want. I like to use an on-screen keyboard in case we have to input some sort of text or change some settings. And here we can name our character to the location we want to save it to and click on Save to Disk. Now that we have our character saved, we can drop down the character effects, muscles, test geometry, Otto Muscle Transfer recipe, which we'll be using to convert our character and the muscles from the test geometry Otto. So let's pick the test geometry Otto and copy that node and then paste that. And let's also create a file node where we'll import our character. Here, the file node can import an FBX file as well as the, the kind of file we're going to create. So if we click on that after we imported an FBX file and click frame selected, we can see our character in the viewport. Now I'm going to import the character I saved. And name it correctly. And here, when we click frame selected, we can see the character we saved earlier. So the next step is to convert our character to polygons and make sure it's correctly converted. This node will convert our character to polygons. And next, we would like to drop down a split node, which will split the surface of our character from the rest of the parts of the character. So if we drop that down and then go to that node, we can select just the body and the head mesh. And when we select the right part of the node, we can see that the only parts that are visible now and showing are the surface of our character, without the eyes and the other parts of the character that we've now taken out of our selection. Now let's let's copy that split node and paste that in, and then connect our test geometry to that. Because in this case, we need to take the test geometry character and make sure that the character is just the surface without the eyes and the rest of the character. So here we can see the character with the eyes, and we've changed the settings to just the skin surface and set the level of detail to proxy to make it uh, the low res um, topology that we want to transfer to our character. Then in split, we want to make sure that we only have the body and the head surface. So let's delete the previous settings in the group and drop down and select just the skin shape. Now, when we click on that, we'll see that we only have the surface area without the eyes and other parts of our character. Now we want to connect the two characters with the topotransfer node. In this node, we'll move the topology from the template to the target character. And for that, we want to connect our test geometry to the first node of topotransfer and connect the split of our character to the second node of the topotransfer. When we click on that, see the Otto character selected, and in this node we can transfer the topology of our template character. So let's first set our view to front viewport, and the topology will be transferred here. When we click on edit or press enter, we see our template character, and that's what we want to focus on first. So let's select the template character, and by moving the view tool closer to our character, we can set the points easier. So in front view, when we click on this edit button, we can set points for our template character, and the more points that you set, the more accurate your transformation is going to be. So let's set the eye points, the mouth, the ears, and even the, the parts of the face to get a more accurate reading of the transfer of the character. Now, let's move down and add more points to the rest of our template character. Let's add points to the wrist, the hips, and the knees. And now we'll switch the view to perspective and place our character more in portion to where we want to focus on. And now set the points for the ankles and the feet. Let's move in a little bit more to make it easier to put the points exactly where we want them. It's important for when we transfer the topology, but this is a fairly quick operation compared to what it used to take to be able to create a full muscle system for your character. So you can see how quickly we are able to set these points up, and in just a short while, we'll be able to transfer these points to our target character. Now let's move to the right hand and set up the points for the right hand. And now we only need to add a few more points to the back of the character, which I just want to do to create a more stable transfer. Now that we're done with that portion, we can go back to our character and move into the face again. And now we can change the setting here from template to target. Now we can see where our character, target character is. And the yellow point is highlighted. It's the first point that I chose. And let's move in a little bit closer. Next point is the second point that I chose, and so on. So we can transfer those points to approximately where they are on our character. And now hopefully you can see how this is going to transform our character's topology to the base topology of Otto. This operation is fairly straightforward and fairly fast to do. Once all our points are selected, it's just a matter of I think I missed a point. So this, uh, okay, so this can easily be edited, as you will see, by going to where we might have missed a point and adding that or editing where it would be. Okay, and now we can move on to where we put the rest of our points for our character and approximate the locations. It can be kind of tricky to put the points where you might want them. So here, we have now it's the whole head selected, and we can move on to shoulders and the rest of our character. So let's move down and set up the rest of the points that we put on our template character. We're moving to the target, and let's make sure, yeah, set up the wrists and the hips. Move on to the knees and the ankles. And now let's change the view to perspective viewport and set up the rest of the feet. Let's move a bit closer, make it easier. Set the target. Here we can see the feet are set up easily to where we had the points previously. And we can set the points where we'd like them to be. And now let's go to the left hand. A little bit down and set our target character. So we can set that up. Set the fingers for the left hand. You can see how quickly this whole operation moves. Let's rotate to the left hand, the right hand. Dolly in just a little bit so we have a clearer position for our character. Click on target and set the fingers to where we'd like them to transfer to. And Now, as you might remember, we have only a couple more points that we need to set, and that's the rear part of the heels. So if we position to that and toggle to the target character, we can set the heels correctly. Now that our character is finished, we can click on Done Editing and click on Solve. I'm using NVIDIA 3070 laptop computer, so if your computer's faster, the solve will be faster for you. But still, even with my relatively slow computer, uh, that was a pretty fast solve. And now we can see our character replacing the previous character. Now, in order to get more accurate topology for the skeleton and the muscles, I would like to change the setting for the reduction factor. I'm going to use my online keyboard to change the setting to 0.2, and that gets rid of some of the inaccuracies and parts of the character. It might not be as an accurate topology transfer as 0.9, but since this is low res character, it might not affect our character very much, as the muscles will still be in the correct positions and the skeleton will be more accurate. So if you can see that there's some irregularities in the face, if we change it to, let's say, 0.3, that gets rid of some of those inaccuracies and better fits the character. Now that we've done that, we want to, again, split the skin. So let's copy that node and paste it. And now what we want to do is change the input to the input target proxy skin from the brute connection to our character. And so in order to do that, we just move the output of our split to the input target of the proxy, and we should see our character. Let's delete those parts of the group, and now we can see there's our character in the input target. And we also want to change the input render skin. And for that, we want to take our Metahuman let's see, the Metahuman joint deform and connect that to the input render. And there we see our character as the input render. Now Now that we've done that, you probably want to see what happens with the transfer. And here, if you click on the bone transfer, we should be able to see just the skeleton of our character. And it's pretty amazing development that Houdini and side effects have created to be able to this quickly create a skeleton for our character and also create the muscles for our character. So if we pick the second node here, we can see the outline of our character and how the skeleton fits perfectly inside of our character. And if we click on muscle transfer, we'll see the same thing for the muscles inside of our character. And just a second, we'll be able to see that. We can pick matcap shaded and select the muscle transfer. And there you see the muscle transfer correctly set up for the character within the character. And let me just split out this view so you can see the full node network and how everything connects. And that's it. That's the tutorial. So thank you very much.